instead of working on the Fox body, we're actually working on the S10. So it has a rough idle. You sit at a stoplight and it'll jump from 500 to 1200 and on RPMs. So my biggest guess is the fuel pressure regulator. But I ran the codes, came up with 7 different codes. So I just got some parts that I thought it would need, just to do a little like refresh on it. And new parts never hurts. So that being said, I did the spark plugs 2 weeks ago, and then here we have a new set of wires. We have an idle air control valve, a new ignition coil to go with the wires, and a new fuel pressure regulator, which I think this is the main culprit. I don't think all cylinders are getting evenly distributed fuel. So to do that, we have to take off the intake plenum, whatever it's called, upper intake. This is the shop manual for it. Unfortunately, I have all 5 of them, and this is the only one. All it shows is the picture and how to remove the lower one. So we're just going to follow these steps to remove the upper one. As you can see over at the truck, here it is. So we have to remove the air intake, the throttle body. Here's our ignition coil we're going to replace. And then the distributor, this is the worst truck, it's all shoved in there. The distributor's back there, we're going to do new wires on that. But it's going to be a bitch. So, but it needs to get done. So we have to disconnect the gas lines. To do that, we have to find the Schrader valve and take the fuel pressure out of the system. Yeah. So let's get to it. Alright, this is just a personal tip. I always have a Sharpie in my toolbox. You always should. And then I label the bags as I take the nuts off. So right now, I'm taking, and then I put them all in a box so I know all the parts are there. So I'm taking the, we have the cold air off, and now I'm taking the throttle cable assembly bracket off. And then we're going to start disconnecting the wires once we get some more space. And then we'll depressurize the fuel system. You just find the Schrader valve, flathead screwdriver, and a rag. Catch the gas. Alright, so we've disconnected the whole wiring harness from most of the things. The AC compressor, some of the sensors, and we've tucked that back. Now we have the main plug, which should come just right out. This may be a lock for it. I haven't taken this apart in 2 years. And then you can see your Schrader valve is way back here. And we're going to have to depressurize the system like that. And then we'll have to take all the bolts off. Oh, we have another plug back here as well. And then we'll take all the bolts to the intake off. And hopefully nothing goes in there while it's open. Fix the fuel pressure regulator on the back of this spider injection system. Okay, so we're this far into it. Throttle body is off. I already decharged the gas line, just got to take those off, and then the main plug, and this plug, and then the bolts around it. So, while the throttle body is off, right here, we're going to change the idle air control valve right here. And we might as well clean this up with a little bit of carb cleaner since there's a lot of carbon buildup on this. Okay, so here's an update. Ignition coil's off. It's riveted to the bracket. So this one, I'm going to go with it for now because that's not that hard to take off if I really want to replace it, because I don't know how this is supposed to remount to it. I really don't feel like drilling it out because it makes the ground to this other piece right here. So there's that. Idle air control valve has been replaced. That's ready on the throttle body. Gas lines are off. Main plug is off. Harness is off. All the vacuum lines are off. And now we just have all these 10mm bolts around the plenum to take the plenum off. And yeah, so then we should be good. And hopefully the fuel regulator is the right size, because as always, check all your parts before you go and put them on and make sure they're the right size. Things like this, you have to take the risk. So we're going to take the risk. Hopefully it'll fix the truck. Hopefully this is the issue. And I'm going to time lapse me taking off the intake. We got the intake, upper intake plenum, whatever you want to call it, off. And here's our spider injector. And right on the back of it, that little nipple looking thing, is our fuel pressure regulator. So we're gonna go and change that now, and then put it all back together. This should be cleaned. I would clean it if I had a new spider injector, and I don't at the moment, so I might just wipe it down, try not to get anything anywhere else, and then slap it back together and clean out the inside of the intake while I'm at it. So it's pretty gross. So let's get that done, and hopefully we can throw it back together because the sun's going down. Okay, so the fuel pressure regulator is the new one's on. Now, it's on the back of the spider injector. I was fighting with it for a little bit, that's why I didn't show it. So I'm gonna sink this back on now. Pretty much, this is the old one. And here's the old O-ring, and there's a filter that you have to get out, and you have to make sure you get out this tiny little grommet, or you'll be fighting it for 15 minutes like I was and not realizing it was in there. Little tip, which I didn't know either because I've never replaced the spider injector. Fingers crossed I don't have to for a little bit. It's like in a metal cage, and if you just get a flathead, you can spread the cage open and pull it up, and you'll get easier access to the back. And there's a little clip that holds a fuel pressure regulator in, and that's just a U-clip. So you undo the two sides, and then you can slide it down, and it hangs on there so you don't lose it, which is nice. Which I guess Chevy did that since they put it in the worst spot ever, so they gave you a little something back, but whatever. So we're gonna sink this on now. I'm losing daylight. Put the fuel lines back on, plug everything back in, throttle body back on, air intake back on. I have the wires. I'd like to do those. If the lights, we still have light, I'll do them. If not, I'll be doing them tomorrow. But yeah, I gotta go. Okay, so it's getting late out. Obviously, it's pitch black out, but I finally got it all back together. So now we just do a once over, make sure everything's plugged in, and then we'll sit in the cab, turn the key a couple times to prime the fuel pump and get the fuel back in the lines. And hopefully she'll fire up and run. Oh, a good thing we did the once over because I missed the plug right here. So I'm going to turn this off, plug that in. Just want to make sure nothing's blocking the belt. As again, no plugs are left unplugged, no tools are left in here. So just do your once over, and then let's go try to give her a start. See what happens. Now, just a couple of turns. Once. Twice. 3 times. Alright. Alright, now it's supposed to, the idle air control valve. The idle air control valve needs to go at 40 miles an hour for like 5 minutes to be reset. So I'm gonna go take it for a spin.